Oh, how wonderful is it to start your weekend with 3 points there, Reds? Welcome to your Saturday evening edition of the LFC Transfer Room. Yeah, so really, really good. Really happy. Just want to say thank you for joining us today. So on the panel, we'll call it that anyway. So we've got Kev. How you doing, Kev?
All good, mate. Nice 3 points, as you say, and then watched an emphatic Inter winning the Derby della Medina. So it was. It's been absolutely a superb afternoon. Add in the mix and the United loss. It doesn't get any better,
Beautiful,
does
isn't it? Yeah, no, it's a really good Saturday, isn't it? We've got Dave on there today as well. How you doing, Dave? First time we've had your pleasure of joining one of my streams, anyway.
Absolutely, we've broken our virginity. It's great, isn't it?
The cherry's been popped. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I've got there's two guys on the stream tonight that they're going to pop their cherry. So yeah,
it's going to be an interesting night, isn't it? Yeah. No, all good over here. I enjoyed the game thoroughly. Well, most of it, half of it. It was pretty good. And in between, I try to watch as much footy as I can, but then obviously I have to take care of duties in the household. So
yeah,
it happens, right? It happens, guys.
Well, I've just had a newborn. So he's less than 2 weeks old. So to be fair, he's absolutely been delightful. But yeah, so he got his kind of first win, proper win as a Red. So, he's definitely a Red already. So yeah, great.
Very good, very good. Congratulations, mate.
Oh, thank you. And how you doing, Mick?
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, pretty good day. 3 points, good second half.
It's a good way to start your weekend, isn't it?
It is, yeah. United lost as well, which makes it even better.
Well, the question, and I'm going to throw this out to everyone here as well. Do you all love 12:30s now, or UK time 12:30 kickoffs? It's seen that we won, well. Okay. Yeah. So it's always an awkward one, isn't it? And we won't go down the Klopp route of answering questions like of 12:30s. I'm not James Pearce, and I don't want any kind of okay. So so a bit of an interesting one, wasn't it? So today, what we're going to do, we're going to go and just speak about the match itself. There's a lot of obviously excitement and general feeling around the game. Coming into the game, we didn't have many kind of the established stars that we would like to. The defense was kind of decimated in terms of losing Virgil to an additional red card match per se. We didn't have Trent, who had a hamstring injury. Hopefully he'll be back for the next game, and we still haven't got Thiago. We have had Bacetic. He's now available and was on the bench. Kind of general thoughts about the lineup itself there, Dave. I'll get your thoughts first. Any kind of surprises that you thought? I know obviously Kwanzaa is going to be one that we all surprised at, but what are your thoughts about the lineup?
Well, I wasn't surprised by Kwanzaa, if I'm honest with you. I think the time he's had in the first team, he's been absolutely solid. I really, really like the kid. And I'm going to go out on a ledge here. And for me, he was man of the match, Liverpool's man of the match. He was absolutely outstanding. In a first half where everybody else was dreadful, he was pretty good. He was still all right. So, the lineup was what it was because, we have these injuries, we have the suspension, people coming back from all over the world, some coming from South America. It wasn't a surprise to me. What surprised me was the formation that Klopp went, which was the similar one that he has when Trent is in, when he goes into that inverted six. And Gomez was doing the same thing, but just no, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. So I thought, to be honest, that Jurgen made a huge error there. Huge error. He should have gone flat back forward with the members of the team that he had in there. And like you reverted to in the second half with Curtis in the flexible six role, and the other midfielders, roaming around. So I really love Jurgen with all my heart, but I was really surprised, and it was a shock to me that he got it that wrong, to be quite honest. But obviously, then he's as you said before, he's really grown in terms of his ability to change a game from the bench. So he realized straight away, and he made all the necessary changes, and we saw the result. So
yeah. So Mick, in terms of that lineup, the defense itself, I think it's quite interesting that Gomez was still working in that inverted right back role, do you think it would have made more sense to have Kwanzaa be on the right hand side rather than the left hand side because of the pace that Kwanzaa has over Matip? You know, Matip's not the quickest of players these days, unfortunately.
I just don't think you should. I don't know what Klopp was thinking with that starting. Like when I seen the lineup, I thought, okay, we know Van Dijk, no Trent, but I thought flat back four. I think we'll do. I think we'll start well. And then when I noticed Gomez was sitting in the middle of the park, I was just like, oh no, what's going on here? And he was all over the place. He didn't know where he was. And it's no fault of Gomez because he's a centre back by trade, and you've been asking to play in practically a centre midfield role, and it was just. Honestly, I nearly cried when I seen what was going on in that first half. It was awful. But no, I don't even think with Kwanzaa on the right would have even helped in any way, shape, or form because I think that's just a position that Gomez should never ever play ever again. But then in the second half, when he changed it round and went to the flat back four, pushed the wing backs up, a totally different team. And I've said it from day one. I don't think we should play this inverted wing back position even when Trent's there. I think we should just go back to the flat back four that we've always used to play, that we dominated with. I don't understand. I don't like it. I think it leaves the defence far too open on too many occasions. I think against better teams, because Wolves should have gone into that second half at minimum 2-0 up. Against a better team like a City or an Arsenal, if we'd have started like that against them, we'd have been 3 or 4 down by half time because it was absolutely terrible. But changed it round, and I thought McAllister was dreadful. I'd have took him off after 15-20 minutes. He just looked so leggy, couldn't make a pass for 2 yards, giving the ball away under pressure. The transition was terrible. But yeah, fair dues to Klopp in the second half. He made the correct changes, and I think it obviously paid off in the end.
Yeah, so I think with the issue with McAllister is there's 2 things for me, and Kev, I'll get your thoughts on this one as well. First of all, he's come back after kind of 24 hours and thrown straight into the starting lineup, having been kind of playing in Bolivia in the high altitude. So he's going to be very, very leggy. Unfortunately, that kind of does tell you the situation in midfield. We still need that controller. Had Thiago been injury free, been available, I think he would have played ahead of McAllister in this type of game. Just to allow McAllister to kind of come back into the position in the later stages of the match or into next week's game itself. But also the referees. I am going to come to you about this there, Kev, about the refereeing decisions. For McAllister to get a yellow card so early in the game, do you think that kind of hinders his performance? Seeing that he's already had a red card, albeit he has been kind of rescinded, but having that over your head, do you think that kind of hinders his game?
I think what hindered McAllister today was the 12,000 feet altitude game, along with the 6,000 hour flight and less than 24 hours into the country and being on oxygen. That was the biggest gamble we took today. The gamble should have been possibly playing Kwanzaa from the start. Instead, we gambled on McAllister in the middle of the park, and you could tell straight away he didn't have him in him. Not against him. Up to this point, he's been absolutely superb. I'm wax lyrical about him. I think he's an absolutely fantastic player. I think it doesn't help. He loses the ball. As soon as he loses that ball, I knew the next thing was he's giving away a free kick. I think everyone did. And then it's this new rule that's come in where, unfortunately, no matter what minute it is, he gets a yellow card, and that's him on the back foot straight away. He didn't have his best game at all. I don't think any. If you look at that, you've got Gomez going into the inverted midfield bit, but I agree with the lads. It should have been a flat back four. I said that last night as well. It should have been a flat back four. And then you mess around with midfield. The surprise and the gamble, I thought, should have been with Kwanzaa rather than with McAllister, and go with someone else in the middle of that park if they could. I would have started Endo. But then we start losing retention of the ball. We can't play a pass here, there, and everywhere. We're I think a lot of you got to give a lot of credit to an ex-Liverpool coach who's come up against us and nearly flummoxed again. Done it at Bournemouth last season and done it again today with the high progressive playing, and that Neto was just getting far too much room on the right-hand side for them. We just didn't we didn't control the game as a team. We were playing as individuals, and we looked tired and we looked weak in that first half. One change and we go to a 4-4. We end up playing a 4-4-2, and you see that potentially in the second half working. But back to McAllister, I don't think it was on him, and I think it's wrong. It's unfair to be criticising him. I think that was the gamble that was played today. I think there was going to be one gamble, and unfortunately, we put the card on the actual player that should have been not on the pitch for me until next week.
And Szoboszlai didn't have the best of games in the first half, did he?
Do you know what? I thought he'd done all right, but there was a few errors in him. The one thing I like about him, which even though we were 1-0 down, he is still getting back and helping out. At one point, he was in the back four as a centre half, winning the ball and coming out with it. So his retention and his defensive madness and getting back into position, you can't fault. But then there was individual errors from him that then implicated the way we played. But I think that was brought on to us because we underestimated the Wolves team at home, who have come at us and basically pressed us at certain points in certain phases, and has prevented us from playing football. And that's credit to what Gary O'Neill's done at Wolves. I think he's got a good side. I think the problem they've found is that they're going to have a lot of issues trying to put that ball in the back of the net, because they should have been 2-0 up. That if Kone scores that goal, I don't see us winning it today. But you know what? Fair play to them. But second half, we came back and but Szoboszlai, for me, we can say that a lot of people didn't have good games. I thought he was one of a few that was decent in the first half, although there was a few errors in him. I thought him getting back, tracking back and helping out was great. But unfortunately, there'll be people who think differently to me. So that's what I thought of him anyway.
And then so I mean, it's interesting. Obviously, with the way the lineup, Szoboszlai didn't have the best of games. Considering the how brilliant he's been so far this season. So he's already kind of set such a high standard, the high bar for him. But so I mean, if we focus on Kwanzaa, Mick, and I'd like to get your thoughts on the young player coming in. Do you think he's given himself the opportunities to be certainly playing more games, or is there still a big question mark? Well, let's put it this way: could he be above someone like Joel Matip by within a month's time or a few months itself?
I thought he had a decent game. I think he was one of the defenders in the first half who actually did some defending. I thought Robertson had a good first half as well, even though I thought it was a bit error for the Neto cross. I feel like he should have at least gone for the ball or tried to make an attempt. He looked a bit lost. Didn't know that. Is it Hwang was behind him? But I thought Kwanzaa had a decent game. I thought he played quite well. I think he won a lot of his duels as well, and I liked the way he was just. Sometimes when you're under pressure, you see some like a Van Dijk or a Matip or a Hincapie, they'll try and play out a pressure where he knows that maybe we won't retain the ball, so we just get rid of it. And I thought he did all right. I think a couple of months' time, he probably could be up there with maybe the third or fourth choice centre back, but I think he's still got a lot to learn. I think he still made a few errors, but I think a lot of them did. But I think Klopp likes to take time, doesn't he, with his players? I think you'll see him more maybe in the Europa League and in like the Carabao Cup and the early rounds of the FA Cup, maybe more than the Premier League starts going forward.
Yeah, and I think Jen, as always, Jen, thank you for joining today and all the comments for today. Jen makes a really, really good point around Kwanzaa and essentially having the solid people around him, on the pitch and off the pitch. I think it's really, really important that a player with such a promising start, he's kind of come into the first team been thrown into the deep end. Away to Wolves is never easy. We've had some bad results in the past, and it's always been tough to try to get any type of results themselves. But Dave, your thoughts on Kwanzaa himself, how he performed again? Looking at that long term view, the long term prospect, is Europe and the cup game is going to be his main kind of chunk of time that he'll get minutes this season.
Quite possibly so. I mean, I said it in the beginning, I was very, very impressed with him today. I mean, he was not phased at all at any point. He reminded me a little bit of Van Dijk in the way he played. He was sweeping up things. He could read the game really, really well. He was definitely the best defender on the pitch for me. I thought that he obviously what he doesn't have at this stage is the passing ability, and I think that's what he probably needs to work on. But as an out-and-out defender, I thought he performed really, really well, and I see a big future for this boy with Liverpool. I really, really do. I think he'll get some minutes in the Premier League as well. I think today was away to Wolves. I mean, we've got to give Wolves some credit, right? I mean, they were fantastic in the first half. I mean, really fantastic. Yes, of course, we're a big part of them being fantastic, but they were really, really good. Their counter press was phenomenal. I mean, really, really great. We had no counter press in the first half at all. I thought tactically when they were attacking, they were hitting the wide areas where they knew there was the problem for Liverpool. And when they were defending, you could see all three lines, defense, midfield, all within a 10-meter space. And that's just basically like a wall. So, it's very, very difficult for teams to break down another team in that sort of setup. So Wolves got it spot on. But of course, then in the second half, Liverpool's quality is what came through. So for mine, Kwanzaa, as I see him, he'll be a big part of this season. Obviously, he won't be in the big games, but I think when there's injuries, when there's suspensions, hopefully not, but when there's injuries or tired players, I think he'll step up and be fine. I would like to see him and Van Dijk together, to be quite honest. I think that would be an interesting pairing because they both are quite calm. And he wasn't really phased today. You see Matip or Gomez, if there's players around them, you can see the twitch. They start to get twitchy, they get nervous and all sorts of things happen. But Kwanzaa doesn't seem the same. I mean, he just plays the ball and plays football and knows the game and does the basics really, really well. And I liked him. I thought he was really good today.
Yeah, he's good. So I think we're going to last kind of segment on the game itself, and I'll come to you, Kev. As good as we were in the second half, we probably need to give a little bit of focus on Klopp and his in-game management, seeing situations, seeing things that weren't going right, to be brave enough to kind of take McAllister off, put Diaz on, make those changes. With Cody Gakpo's goal, as soon as he scored, essentially he was taken off. How brave of it is it of Klopp to make those decisions and stick to his guns in that respect?
I think we saw it more in the Newcastle game than we did today. I think any of us could have made that change today with McAllister to take him off. I think the surprising one was that he automatically went for Diaz to go on, and that told you that he was looking for a bit of pace up front and a bit more movement, a bit more creativity. So in that sense, he did get it right. But I think if you were to ask Klopp, I think even he said in his press conference, we couldn't have played as bad as what we did in that first half, and I think that was evident to everyone. I think what I have liked is that how quickly we changed it up, and I think that's the difference we're seeing now. We're seeing a less stubborn Klopp because usually we look at the Fulham game last season as an example. It takes him 70, 80 minutes before we make a change, whereas this season now at the start of this, we're seeing tactical changes, some that we question ourselves, and yet we still find it was the right thing. We were crying for Nunes before in the Newcastle game. As soon as we go down to 10, why are you taking Diaz off? And the next minute we come back and he brings them on. And when he does come on, we win the game. So, it's very good what he's doing at the minute. And I just hope that, this continues for the rest of the season. I think what you like to see in this team is that there's a belief in this team that there wasn't there last season that you're starting to see. And I just think it's just one of those games where I think, bring it on certain players at certain times. It then poses questions of Gary O'Neill, and he was trying to play a chess move when he's already four paces down. Klopp knew exactly what was going on in the game, and how to motivate him more and how to go for that win. I think we're seeing more of that this season. So I think it's great that we are seeing it. I think the McAllister one was an obvious shout, but I think for me it was the minutes that you see Elliott come on, and then the likes of Núñez come on. So as soon as we get that, I know he was already coming off, but by bringing Gakpo off and then causing more problems, that caused what Gary O'Neill said was the chaos that he didn't want in the game, and you start seeing chaos in the box, and they then changed the left back, who then causes the mistake, and it's him that actually the ball comes off and goes in for our third. So it's a win for us to see with the way we're strategically and manoeuvring our actual squad. And I think what will benefit us this season is that those squad players are going to be getting minutes in the Europa League and the cup games as well. So the level, that drop off won't be as high as it has been in previous seasons.
And just talking about those substitutes, Mick, I'll come to you about this one. How impressive is Harvey Elliott in this in his role? He hasn't started the game from memory, so what we're seeing from Harvey is that more maturity, the physicality is actually there. His ability to see out certain positions, certain plays that we're looking to complete. How impressed are you with Harvey, and should he be starting ahead of someone like Curtis Jones, do you think?
I love Harvey Elliott. I think he just doesn't get maybe the praise or the game time that he deserves when he does play. He comes on and he works his socks off every single time he comes on, and for me he's a better player than Jones, and I think he's a better player in the position that Klopp plays Jones in and Harvey, and I think Harvey should be starting over Jones for me. I think he brings a lot more to the game. I think even though he's quite small, I think he's a lot more physical than Jones. He gets himself stuck into tackles. I think he's more creative than Jones. And he's got an eye for goal as well, Harvey. And he's just, I think it's just a shame that how many really good midfielders Liverpool have, and he just can't really, get staple the first team place. I think it's a massive shame, and maybe he should. I feel like he needs to start, but I'm on the fence of who does he start over in a full strength Liverpool team, and that's my problem. But I think he's a fantastic player, and he really needs that game time.
Yeah. So interesting you say that. So I've put together a little video, half an hour video of possible replacements for Mo Salah. So that's been edited. Should be released fairly soon. And I speak about Harvey Elliott playing in that right wing position and whether he could actually do that. So yeah, it would be interesting trying to figure out what actually position. I think it's good for him that he is able to play numerous positions. That centre mid, the attacking mid, and the right wing. We do like those dynamic plays, don't we, in the team? It's just whether Harvey's going to be satisfied with being the bit part player at the moment. I think coming back to Kevin, your point about where he's going to get his games, and also Dave, you said that as well, is the cup game is going to be really, really important for Harvey, whether that's going to be Europe or domestic cups. So it's going to be really interesting to see how he gets on themselves. But last thing we will definitely talk about in terms of the subs is Darwin Núñez. Big Dave, what do you think about Darwin? Do you think the chaos has quelled a little bit? Is he a little bit more controlled in what he's doing? And do we have kind of any more insights as to what you think should happen next week?
For me, Núñez has to be a starter as many games as possible. His impact and the chaos that he causes to defenses is fantastic. I mean, it's a joy to watch. And yes, he can be a bit manic at time. And yes, he makes mistakes. And yes, he'll shoot wide occasionally or shoot at the keeper. But again, like Luis Diaz, they're machines, and they're so difficult to deal with. Defenders have problems dealing with them. And as we've seen recently from Nunez, if he gets himself in a clear spot in the box, good chance of a goal. So for me, he's got to be a starter. I mean, Gakpo, I thought was going to be bought for the left because that was where he was so successful in the past. And when he played, I think it was one game, I can't remember who it was. It was at Man United, but he scored. That wasn't that famous game, but he scored from the left. He cut in, nice curler, far corner. And, it just he looked so natural at doing it. When he plays either the striker or the false nine, it just doesn't seem to be him for me. Nunez has to start. He's an animal. I love him. Absolutely. I love watching him. I love watching Diaz. These guys are the future for me. Mo, as we know, is going to be not around too much longer. People are going to get mad at me here, but he's absolutely not the player he used to be. I mean, he's those 2 years. Hey, say again?
3 assists.
Oh, yeah, he has. But again, in the moment, fantastic. When there's that right moment, he'll do something. But his dribbling is gone. He rarely gets around players anymore. He's not as fast as he used to be. We can see that defenders are having far less problems with him these days. And, he doesn't score many of those cut-in goals and curl it into the corner or you don't see those from him anymore. So he's not the same. He's still a fabulous player, super intelligent player, but he's not the same old Mo. And I think sooner or later he will go to Saudi Arabia. I like Elliott for that position, to be quite fair. He's not going to be the same kind of person in that position. He'll cut in, probably create more assists than doing spectacular things. But I think he's a clever little player, a very clever player. And again, work rate, really, really top. So going back to your original point, Nunez for me starts as much as possible, because even if he does start more games, he'll find that flow more easy.
Cool. Yeah, that's okay. That's a really good segment talking about the game itself. Coming back to that, I know I've already mentioned it, but there is going to be a Salah video, and some of the points that have been mentioned already today I have discussed, and I've given you a bit of my opinion as to who could replace Mohamed Salah, the living legend that he is. Before we kind of go into the transfer news, I just want to say really big thank you for everyone that's on the stream tonight. We've got now 99, so nearly 100 viewers. We've only got 22 likes at the moment. Please like and subscribe. It helps us out. Leave a comment as well. If we have time today, I'll look to get some questions out, a quick fire round, as you may want to call it, and get the guys kind of answering some of your questions. Just have a think about those questions, throw them into the chat. I'll save them and we'll go through them. But what we'll do, we will go forward and start speaking about some of the transfer news that's come out today in the last 24 hours. So the first one is a bit of a recurring, well, to be fair, two of the three today are recurring transfers over the summer that are kind of spilled out into the off window, if you want to call it that. The first one is Pierro Hincapie. So the Bayern Munich player today, 21-year-old, has been linked with another move, continuously being linked with us. So a move to Liverpool. Mick, I'll start with you very quickly. What are your thoughts about Hincapie? Do you think that it's a good move? He's 21. We're talking about roughly around about 48 million to sign the player. Is he worth it? Do we kind of consider him a worthy successor for someone like Virgil van Dijk, or are we stepping in the way of a impressive Kwanzaa for what we've seen today?
I've seen Hincapie play a few times for his country and for Leverkusen, and he's a brilliant. He is a very good player. He can play left back as well, and he can also play centre back. He's got a lot of pace. He's strong on the ball. He's going to pass with the ball as well. I think it's a deal that should have happened in the summer. I think it's just a crime that we never signed a centre back in the summer transfer window after the news. Obviously, we wanted Colwell, and that never came off. But for me, out with all the people we were thinking, he was the one I was hoping that we'd get in the summer. He is a very good player. And I think even when the whole Caicedo thing was going on, there was a couple of the Ecuadorian journalists saying that Hincapie is one of the reasons why Ecuador do so well in the international, because of how solid he is defensively. Also, along with Caicedo and Estepinha. But Xabi Alonso was adamant he didn't want to let him go. He's well within he's really coming on. I think someone just said there, he's a cheaper version of Bordeaux. He's a very good player. He's got a lot of potential as well. And I think Van Dijk needs that. He needs something that he might lose his. Someone he might think, if I don't have a bad game, I'm going to lose my place too. Because I think Van Dijk is nowhere near the level what he used to be. And if a player like Hincapie came in, I think had a couple of good games. Say if Hincapie was there now and Van Dijk had his suspension, this is a player who could take that position from Virgil van Dijk in not to the near future, because I think Van Dijk is way off what he used to be. I feel like he makes a lot of mistakes now. He seems, for me, Van Dijk's too lax on the ball. He leaves himself open to not getting goal side of the attackers and stuff. It frustrates me. I don't think he's been the same since he had that injury from the ACL injury from the Everton game. But yeah, I think he's a brilliant player, and it's a deal that Liverpool should have done in August because we are crying out for centre-backs.
Yeah. I think in a perfect world we would have got him to come in. But Kev, do you think the agent had a big say in terms of the drama that occurred with Caicedo? Do you think there's still a little bit of animosity between the club and Caicedo, or Hincapie's agent, who are the same person? Does that kind of throw a little spanner in the works?
Potentially, but you'd hope that we would be professional enough to get past that. I know that agents deal with not just one person, but they deal with quite a few. And unfortunately, in certain circumstances, we've had to go back and deal with certain agents in the past. So this won't change. It doesn't help the situation because we know what kind of agent he is. He sees money signs and just wants that in his pocket. And with this being the last season before the agent fees are removed and are actually then moved into part of the actual transfer deal, I can see why, and I can see why some of them are as great as they are. I'm open. I quite like what Mick said about it, and especially around Virgil as well. I do think he needs a break, and it's nice that he's had a bit of in a good way during the suspension. I was fearful that we would concede, and if you look at the games that he's missed, we've only conceded one goal. Is truly good in that respect, and it gives him a bit of a break, and he needs it because we do rely on him. I think we brought him back far too early after his big injury that he had, and that's affected him. But it doesn't get from the fact of what a true player he is, positionally he is. But we do need to have that person who can come in for the, dare I say, the mediocre games. Not having to rely on Virgil will be an absolute godsend, and relying on him in the big games that are needed. I'd rather have a fully fit, energized Virgil for a Man City game than having them all worked up and ready for a game against, I don't know,
Wolves.
Yeah, Wolves or something like that. You know what I mean? It's one of them. But going back to your original question, Charlie, I'm not too concerned of who the agent is, as long as the player has already told them that he wants to come to us. Then I'll be happy for that.
Yeah, and I think there was a question from Jay Muse around about how reliable the report from Ecuador was, and I think it's kind of middle of the road. I think the way that we have on our Twitter is the rating system for our the sources that we use for the articles. It's kind of middle of the road, so we're not too sure, whether it's actually 100% true. It's kind of neither here or there when it comes to that. But Dave, I'll ask you a question around about Hincapie's Now, the unfortunate thing with Hincapie is he's only played 1 minute this season because he's been suspended for three the league matches up to yesterday's match against Bayern Munich. So he only played 1 minute. So it's really difficult for us to kind of to gauge how good of a player he is currently. But based on what we've seen, what we've heard, his ability to play numerous positions along the back four, he can play left back. He can play obviously in that left-sided centre back role, and obviously the right back as well, the right-sided position. Do you think that's a win for us if we are able to do that? Certainly with the formation, and I know that we've spoken about Trent being in the inverted right wing, right back position, but having someone like Hincapie who can play left back, who is also a centre back, gives us that more option, more solidity around that. Or does the performance from today from Robbo kind of dispel that need?
Look, going on Hincapie, I like the guy. I mean, as a defender, he's quite a classic old school defender. He's tough. He's good in the air. He's good with short passes. He's great with short passes. He's a great tackler, very aggressive tackle. But as you brought up, Charlie, his disciplinary record is absolutely hopeless. I mean, last season alone, in 30 games, he got 9 yellows. 2 yellows to red and 3 red cards. So he's got a really bad disciplinary record so far. But he's a very, very talented player. He's young. He's from South American. He's South American, so we know how there's quite a few of those that are absolute hotheads. But I think he's got a lot to get. I'd like to sign him. I really would like to sign him.
He's young, though, isn't he? He's young. So he's 21. Yeah, he's 21. So he's got a lot of time to kind of develop and learn from Virgil, from the very, very best around about being calmer, isn't he?
Absolutely. I think he'd be a great addition. And I think I agree with Mick. It was a bit of a shame we didn't sign him in the summer because he would have had some time to get into the team, to see what's going on. And I think we need a bit of aggression at the back. I think sometimes we're a little bit too soft. We've got pretty graceful players there. I mean, Verge is obviously a very graceful player. Konate the same. Konate's quite smooth the way he goes about his business. But there's no real aggression at the back, and I miss that. I like a bit of aggression at the back. I like, a bit of a hard tackle coming in from your defenders and someone who's not afraid to get in people's faces and all that sort of stuff. So I think for that reason, he would be a great addition. His statistics are pretty good for a young guy. I mean, they're not outstanding, but they're pretty good. I can see him being a really, really good fit. And again, as you said, I mean, if you're playing a back three because Trent's going to move out into the inverted role, why not have Hincapie, Verge, and Konate, and then he slots in, Trent slots in and slots out. For me, that's a win. That's a winning formula. So I like him. Get him on board.
So, Kev, I'm going to come to you for this question because I know you're a big fan of Kostas Tsimikas. If we are going to go for someone like Hincapie and his ability to play left back, are there questions more around why we went ahead, or the rumours are that we're going to go ahead and renew Kostas' contract? Is there something around that kind of doesn't make too much sense?
No, for me, it makes perfect sense. It protects the asset, it protects the player, it protects his value. By not renewing it, it means that he then leaves for less money than what he's actually worth. And that's one thing that we have done badly over. It's all very well bringing the players in. Our strategic of losing players has been absolutely abysmal. And I think renewing the likes of a Kostas, regardless of what I think of him as a player, I think there's benefit of renewing his deal to protect the asset. That's one thing that we haven't done well over the years, and it's why you see players leaving for less money than they should be, or going on a free. So I think it makes perfect sense. It doesn't. If Hincapie comes in, there's no doubt that even until then, I think Kostas will play every Europa League game. I think he gets a cup games as well, so that puts him in the market for a move, and then by renewing his deal, it then sends out a message that we actually want him, which then means then that if someone does want him, that they're going to have to meet our requirements for him to stay, for him to move on. Eventually, he will go. How soon that'll be dependent on what comes in the likes of a bid. But I think it makes perfect sense to renew a player, especially if you've got ideas within a year or two, he won't be there.
Kev, I saw a bit of a little bit distraught with some of the Kostas comments. I'm assuming that you're not the biggest fan and a little bit unsure as to the renewed. I think Kev, again, the voice of reason, perfect words as to why we probably are looking at renewing his contract to make him more to get more money in the summer or in January if someone comes in with a good deal. Again, do you think there's something around that? Are you worried that Kostas could come in and block another player in cup games?
Absolutely not. To be honest, I think Matty mentioned it last night on the stream, and I kind of agree with him. We should be playing out under 23s in every game. Do you know what I mean? And have a strong forward line, because that's how good we should be in this. And it's probably being a bit over cocky, but I'm not. I don't see any threat in the group that we are in. The only threat I've got is by us not playing to our expectations and playing our strongest 11. This is not the Champions League. This is basically a mediocre group games that are just getting in the way of our priority, which is the league games. So this is where you give your squad players an opportunity. If you're looking at releasing a player at the end of the season, I'd sooner be putting him in there and getting him in the market for players, because that'll probably be his level. He came in for the first season. We can talk about his assists or what he's done, but those assists have never been in big games. Now, that may be down to the opportunity, but you've got a player who's got no pace for me. He's got no defensive duties whatsoever. I've seen him more playing on the eye test I have and the games I've seen him play. I've seen him being a fault for goals. I've seen him being as the highest person on the pitch in a forward position. He causes us much problems when he comes on. And it then allows teams to have an issue down our right as well as our left. And that's a big concern and a big worry. And that's the reason why the likes of Leeds come to us and win. It's defensive duties. He's a bit like a Moreno for me. And he causes a few issues. He gives away stupid free kicks when they're needed. However, people on the continent like him. People on the continent would like him as a player. And for 10, 15 million, and if it means renewing him, then I'm all for it. Regardless of what I think of him, I think he will play majority of those games with that in mind. And hopefully he plays well. And people will say he'll prove me wrong, but they're not going to be against a City. They're not going to be against anyone. They're going to be against an EFL Championship team or the League 2 team that we're going to be playing against. And that's probably bigging up the teams in our group to make them look outstanding. Do you know what I mean? So it's not going to be the biggest cross. His crossing's a bit inconsistent for me, if I'm being perfectly honest. It's either over hit, under hit, and now and again it is hit on but it's never consistently enough for me. His all-round game could be a lot better, and I think Klopp has realised that, which is why you don't see him getting game time only if Robbo's injured. But I may be wrong with that.
No. You're the voice of reason there, Kev. So it's all right. It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, a lot of love in the chat. So
it'd be more reasonable than me.
That's probably why I didn't come to you.
I gotta say, guys, I'm reading the comments. Kev's like big time, isn't he?
Yeah. Kev's show. There's lots of love for Kev, and it's just.
I'm a big fan already.
Yeah. He's going to get merchandise. We're going to get merchandise with Kev and his face on there. We're going to really get that. Hoodies, definitely, they're coming. Okay, so I think we are all agreed that Hincapie would be a really, really good buy. I think at the price, it's a really, really good deal to get over the line. Before we move on to the next topic, is I just want to say thank you for everyone. I know it's a Saturday night. if you're going out clubbing, but you want to be here talking to us about Liverpool, enjoying your Saturday evenings. Great, thank you. Like, subscribe. We absolutely love you for being involved. So the next one, a bit of a left field link that's coming today. Not the Nico Williams that we're thinking of, but the Nico Williams, Spanish player that plays for Athletic Bilbao. 21, very, very good, very, very highly rated. Seems like he's been around for such a long time, but such a young player itself. Mick, I'll come to you in regards to Nico Williams. He plays on the on the wing position, so left or right. Has the ability to play on the right. Is a strong player in that position. Any kind of general thoughts about the player himself? Would he be a good fit or?
I've not seen a massive amount about. I've not watched him play a lot. I've probably seen him maybe once or twice play. From what I know and what people have said, he's a very good young player. People say he's better than his brother, which is a bonus. He seems like he's very direct. He likes to run. It reminds me of a right-footed Diaz. Very, very direct. Likes to take people on. Likes to run at the defence. Good dribble of the ball. He can pass a ball. How old is he? 20? I think he's about 20.
21.
23-ish. 21?
Yeah. No. He's really young. Yeah, 21.
Yeah, so he seems to be a really. But I honestly don't know a massive amount about him. The most I know about he goes really good in FM. If anyone plays Football Manager, he becomes one of the best world talents on FM. But yeah, no, he seems like he possibly would be a good fit. I mean, he's right-footed, I believe, as well. So he's a bit different from, say, if he played on the right to a Salah. But I'm not with this whole thing that our right winger has to be left-footed. I prefer wingers to get to the byline, get a ball in, cause problems when you've got someone like Nunes as well, or Gakpo who can cause them problems in the box with that height and aggression. Then I'm all for that. I think he's got a release clause that's relatively cheap as well, of around like 42 million euros or something.
If it's £35 million, then we're all over it, because it seems like that's the magic number for Liverpool these days.
Yeah. So. He seems to for that price and his age, and he seems to have a lot of potential. I think he was in the Spain's under 21s as well, and he played really well in that. So yeah, I'm all for that. Yeah,
so a bit of stats. Oh no, I think it would be. I think some stats thrown out. So this season he's played 4 games, 260 minutes. In those 4 games, so Athletic Bilbao have won 2 games. They've lost 2-0 to Real Madrid and then drew their last game. In those 4 games, he's set up 4 goals. So I think, he's definitely got something about him. I do agree. He kind of reminds me, when I've ever watched him play, reminds me of Luis Diaz, of Michael Elise as well, who's more of a creator rather than a goal scorer. Is that what we want in terms of the type of player? But Dave, if we were to go for someone like like Nico Williams, and then if we're thinking about who's on the left-hand side with Luis Diaz, does that kind of change the way that Liverpool would play? The formation, it would essentially become a lot wider, do you believe, or kind of can those guys still get the goals that Mo Salah kind of has given us over the years?
Yeah. I don't see Williams on the right for me. His best work has always been done down the left. So, as you said, he's an assist king. This guy's fast. His dribbling skills are fantastic. He's really, really good. But that's, as you said, Charlie, the problem is he's going to have to slot realistically probably on the left. Now I don't think anyone's going to displace Luis Diaz as the first choice for the left. I mean, I think we've got another 5-6 years of that for sure. He's still quite young there. So we're talking about the tactics. And first of all, Nico Williams, I like him. I just don't see him fitting in right now, considering the options that we have in the area of the field that he would likely play. Going back to the formations, I mean, for me, the most exciting time in my years watching Liverpool was when we had this flat back 4 with Trent and Robbo on the sides, right? We had the 2 centered defenders. Every time we had guys bombing down either side, so if it was Trent, Fabinho would lock into that right back spot and cover. If it was Robbo, he'd go in the other side. If it was both of them, they would have, which is very rare, but they would have 2 midfielders slot in, and just bombing down and crossing in, bombing down and crossing in. It was so exciting. And imagine with Nunez right now, he's the fox in the box, isn't he, Nunez? I mean, you put things on a plate for him, he's going to score like Haaland numbers of goals, in my opinion. So, yeah, I think the formation that we're playing now, it doesn't feel. Everything's trying to be worked through very tiny gaps through the middle of the field. Sometimes we'll lock it out to Lewis when he's on, and obviously he'll do a good job. But it just feels so narrow. And I'm used to Liverpool being quite expansive and using all the areas of the pitch. So going back to your original point, Nico Williams, I like him a lot, but I just don't see him being an option for us at the moment. I'll go back to as well something that I've said on a number of occasions. I don't really trust the journals coming out of Spain. They love Liverpool, the Spanish journalists, don't they? They like to link everybody with us. So I'm not quite sure how solid the lead is, but he's a good player. He's going to have a big future, I think, too.
Yeah, so I think there's a point that Jamie's just come out with as well, just kind of on what you've just said. Is this just one of those situations where a player's linked with a foreign club from Spain? You know, in Liverpool's flavour of the month, it looks like, because they're looking for that Salah replacement. Is there just kind of something there? Kev, I'll come to you around this one. Is it just paper talk to kind of instigate a move for, you know, another team? And in this case, Jay's mentioned Barcelona. Whether Barcelona can actually afford to pay for players these days, who knows? But is it just that?
Potentially. As I say, even Klopp getting asked January transfer windows yesterday in his pre-press conference is just it just shows what everyone knows is going to happen. It's going to be the talk from now to until the window closes in January that Salah's going. So it's lazy journalism to an extent that you are going to get a lot of people being questioned and getting linked to Liverpool, and you know, from reputable or probably unreputable journalists. It's not surprising. I think by the time we get to the January transfer window, I think us on here will be sick and tired of talking about left wingers and right wingers and what our formations are going to be. That's what our next narrative is going to be, potentially, as to who is that. Rightly so, Charlie. You've already done a piece on it already, so you know we already know what the narrative is already, and it's not really hard for the fan to see that that's going to be what's going to be happening. I think the lad looks good. He's a young, versatile player, and I think this is going to be evidence of whoever comes in. You look at the players that we've brought in already. Versatility is the key factor in who we bring in, and that's what we're going to see. I think it's hard to try and bring someone in who's going to get us 201 goals and assists, because that's what you're replacing, and it's not about that. Well, I don't think any of us thought that Salah would reach the heights that he did. We knew he was a good player, but Klopp has taken him to the next level, and the team has. I think what needs to work now on both sides of the pitch is a relationship. We don't see the relationship on the left like we did with Mane and with Robbo, and on the right hand side as well. It's kind of gone a tweak a bit, but this is a new evolving team. It's a new Gegenpressing 2.0. So whoever comes in, it's going to be hard. It's going to be as hard as when Gerrard gave the captaincy to Henderson. It's going to be that kind of stature that's going to be on people's shoulders. So someone who can rely with that. I'd like to see Nunez out there. I'd like to see the way we played against Newcastle, the way we ended against Newcastle. I think he looked more comfortable on the right-hand side taking those shots than Addy would have done taking them on the left. And the problem I have him playing in the middle is that he always tends to go to the left and come out of the box, which we saw against Villa. There's times where we have got the opportunity to cross, but there's no one in the middle because he's not really a number nine. He's chaotic, but there's times in the game where he draws to the right to the left hand side more predominantly than he should do. But I agree with the lads. As I say, it's you know, no doubt this time next week there'll be another 2 that we'll be talking about. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, the problem I have, I've done that video, and I'm gonna have to do a part 2 because we've already had.
I'm 3 on 4.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll do a part 2, I think, and then we can let's see how the first video gets everyone. Hopefully you'll like it when that comes out next week. But yeah, if you want to see part 2 of that video, just leave a comment on that video itself. So really appreciate any support you can give. So yeah, I think we all agree not the strongest links. I think it's more paper talk, not something that we probably are going to be going with itself there. So what we'll do, we'll come to the last topic. And I think the last time I spoke on a stream, it's certainly when I hosted, we spoke about this player. So I think we went back to May at that point. Then we fast forwarded over to August and we spoke about this player. And I hopefully you know who I'm talking about. But Manu Kone has reared his head once again. The link has come back. It's never going to die. Is this going to be our Riquelme for our lovely neighbours across the road? But yeah, Manu Kone, Mick, let's start with your thoughts. Why is this coming about again? Is if we wanted to pull the deal, just like with Hincapie, if we wanted to get it done, we should have got it done in the summer. Is there any reason to keep on going for this type of player itself, or be linked with Manu Kone himself?
I personally think if we'd have gone for Manu Kone, it would have been in the summer. He was available. I know he had the injury, which he had quite a bad knee injury in the under-21s for France, but I think he was due back at the beginning of September, and he was in training at the start of the end of our transfer window. He's a very good player. I've seen him play a few times. I've watched him in the French of the Zone. He's a very good player. He's got a lot. He's very versatile midfielder. He can play that 6, he can play a central midfielder role, he can play a box-to-box role, he can play quite across the board. But I feel like I thought the deal, I was more saying it was going to get done at the beginning of the summer. I think it possibly could have been done without his injury. I think Liverpool might have gone in for him without his injury, because I think Gladbach were open to sell him, because I don't think they don't have to pull him, but to keep him anyway. But yeah, I don't see it now. I think it's just one of them things. It's just going to keep, because we never signed this 6 player. That's just good. We did Endo, but the first high value 6 player, shall we say? I think it's just going to keep coming and coming and coming. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think we're more likely to sign Andre in January for that deeper role. Yeah, but he's a very good player, and I've been more than happy for him to play for Liverpool. But yeah, I think for me, Liverpool need to look in other areas before they go and sign more central midfielders. We need right backs, centre backs, in my opinion. But yeah, I don't think I wouldn't say, it's a link that I'd believe, to be honest. I think it's just coming back up again as we're just getting linked with everybody every week. But yeah, good player, but I think if the move would have happened, it would have happened in the summer just gone.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll bring up this comment. I was going to talk about it, in possibly now extra time, so in this video. But Dave, I'll ask you. We've bought Gravenberch for the team to play in possibly in that deeper role. Whether that be a 6 or a hybrid 6/8. Do you think we've already got that player already that we're looking for? Forget about Manu Kone, put our focus into Gravenberch or Bajcetic, who's an excellent player, who's come back, was on the bench today. Any thoughts around that?
Honestly, I don't see Gravenberch as the number 6. I'm sorry. I think he's wasted in that role completely. I think he's much better further up the pitch. He's got a good strike of the ball on him. He's got good vision. He's good in tight spaces as well. He's very clever. He's good at driving forward. So I don't see him in that 6 role. I'm glad to have him on board because I really like the player, but I don't think it solves the number 6 problem at all. I think priority number 1 next summer has to be, or in January if it's Andre, of course. I'd like to have Andre. I think he's a super player, man. He's a super player. He's got energy, bags of energy, man. The guy's dynamic. He's tough. He's good at driving forward as well. He breaks up play. Like, I haven't seen someone break up play like that in a long time. He's on it all the time, the guy. Really, he's definitely the top player at his club right now. So I'd like to see him come in. But if not January, then the summer, it has to be priority number one. So you have one great number 6. You have Endo there, obviously there for rotation, and the other wonderful midfielders that we have can just go and attack other teams and punish them, and that's what I want to see. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. Gravenberch, I rather would see him up the pitch. Maybe in rotation with. I'd like to see McAllister up the pitch as well. I think he's completely wasted at number 6. Absolutely wasted. In the meantime, though, I think Curtis Jones might be the right option. He's good at breaking up play, Curtis. He's good at the press, and he was in there. He was in there for the second half today, and again, the game flowed, and partially it was because he was able to. He's got good vision, Curtis, and he's not my favorite player, mind you. I always see him as a bit blech, if you know what I mean. He's he can play the game.
We're going to get a clip of that and put that onto our YouTube channel. Just that. That's how we go with it.
Yeah, he's a bit blech, but he does good things, but he never has a real impact on any games that I've seen. He had maybe a couple towards the end of last season, but he can play that role. He did it today, and I think seeing as he is not as talented as most of the other midfielders that we have, I would try and adapt him into the 6 for now with Endo, and let the others be creative. And obviously that's where my thoughts are at the moment.
Yeah, okay. So Kev, we've probably covered Manu Kone on a number of occasions. I've let the newbies actually come across and actually give their opinions. Is there anything else that you want to add in before we move to the extra time?
No, I think everything that Dave and Mick have said, I totally agree with. I think especially with Mick saying that if we were going to buy him, it was going to be at the start of the window. Sadly for them, he got an injury. It's mad now, isn't it, that we were struggling to get a midfield, and now we've got an abundance in there, and it seems as though it's the new black at the minute. And hopefully, I agree with what Mick said. I hope at some point we move away from that area of the pitch now and move to other areas that need more of an attention.
Okay, right. So we'll close that off now. We're going to go into a special segment that I like because we try to get as much involvement from you guys who watch and drop questions into the chat. So I try not to ignore as many as I can. It's more of a case of I save them for this segment. Before I do, just please subscribe. If you have any further questions that you want the guys today to kind of try to answer in a short amount of time, please just drop it in and I'll try to pick them out and we can go from there. But we'll ask about the first question really, really briefly across all 3 guys that are here today. The question here from Brace DeVille is, what midfield do you start midweek? So do you think Endo, Gravenberch or Bajcetic could make an appearance in the next game for us? Kev, I'll go with you first.
I would go with that. I'd also be starting Van Dijk as well, to give him a bit of game time because of the games he's lost. So he builds up his minutes for the West Ham game, and that's what we should be doing. So no, I totally agree.
Yeah, Mick, any thoughts about midfield for the away game in the Europa League?
I definitely think Harvey's got to be in there for me. Definitely got to start. I'd like to see Gravenberch start as well. I'd probably go with them two, Gravenberch and Elliott, and then probably Bajcetic in that deeper role, and see that probably where I'd go more. I don't think we need a specialist 6 to play the caliber we've got on the group stage. I think we could play a goalkeeper there that could do a job. So. I think we could go a bit more. He was terrific against Germany.
He was brilliant, wasn't he?
Yeah, but I think we should be a bit more. Maybe give the younger. Maybe give back. He's not had any game time, has he? I know he's just come back from an injury. Maybe get him in there, but Harvey, give Gravenberch a bit of game time. Yeah, that's what I go. Gravenberch, Harvey, and Bajcetic for me.
Cool, good. Dave, what are your thoughts for the Lask game? What midfield
My thoughts are, why the hell did you make me go last on this segment? Because I have nothing to say now. They said it all already. I go exactly with Mick. I like that midfield. That's what I would go through. I want to see Bajcetic back in action. I think he's very solid in the 6. He can play a lot of roles, that guy. But he looks good at 6. He looks so comfortable there. I want to see Harvey get some game time, and I think Gravenberch will probably get 75 minutes out of the game. Build up his fitness a little bit more and get him more involved in the squad and get more game time. So I think that's spot on. I also like what Kev said regarding Van Dijk. I think he needs to play. I think he needs to get his legs back a little bit, and it should be an easy game for someone like him. So it would be a good outing for him to sort of get going. I think it's a good game to rest a lot of players. Bring in the second string. I like to see Doak play, and I think someone said in the comments. Yeah, Doak for me, how exciting is this kid? Jesus, I mean, he's electric. That kid. He's got no fear either, and everybody seems to be fearing him already. So it's quite crazy. I'd like to see him start as well. And that's well done, lads. You said it all.
Okay, playing devil's advocate. Bajcetic hasn't played for a long time. So yes, he can have fitness, he can have sharpness, but he will never have match fitness. I think it may be a little bit too soon for him to be starting games. I think what we could do is start Endo, win the game, put the performance in the bag, and get the 3 points as such, and then introduce Bajcetic, get him the minutes that he needs, rather than actually risking a further injury, because I know it's Europa League. It is going to be an easier game compared to the Premier League, but there's still a risk there that he may pull up because of the excessive amount of minutes rather than anything else. That's the only thing. I think I prefer Endo start with Gravenberch and Elliott, have that really compact workhorse midfield, and then introduce Bajcetic once the game's in the bag. That's my thoughts anyway. But who cares about me? It's all about you guys.
That was rubbish, Charlie. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Sack
no
me
wonder
there.
you're host.
Who cares about me? It's all right. It's all about the guests. Right. Okay. There's a couple of questions. Actually, sorry. Let me have a quick look. While you're doing that, there's a fun question that's come in. I'm going to show it up, but it is tongue in cheek. I just want to throw it out there. But I'll start with you, Mick, about this one. Panel chat. You giving Ten Hag the week, month, or New Year before he gets the sack?
I actually feel sorry, because it pains me to say it, but I actually do feel a bit sorry for him, because he is a good manager. He did very good work with Ajax, and he's just I don't know what's going on with that team. They're absolutely abysmal. It's funny to watch, but yeah, I think they keep with him, to be honest. I think if they were, maybe New Year, but I think they keep with him.
Likes to spend money though, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, they don't get money. We're called to Mark Goldbridge. They don't get money. They don't get any money.
We'll go with you, Dave. What are your thoughts? When do you think Ten Hag will he survive? Is he the right man for them, do you think?
Manchester United are stupid enough to keep him on for quite a bit longer. That's my opinion. Where do they go right now? Where do they go right now if they don't have Ten Hag? I don't think he's the problem at that club at all. I think the players that have been bought, while some of them are good, are just not a great fit for the squad that they have and the roles that they have within the squad. I think they've spent a lot of money, but Jesus Christ, they might as well just flushed it down the toilet. You know what I mean? It's a horrendous transfer strategy. Horrendous. Terrible. Almost as bad as Chelsea's. Yeah. I
Who
don't really
cares?
care.
Who
Is it
cares?
okay?
United.
So I don't
You know what I
really-
mean?
Yeah.
I was just throwing it out there because I was trying to find another question that would be a little bit more interesting. But who cares about United? Kev, I'm going to come to you because I think this one, because you're from the area, I think it's really, really important to try to get. And this is, I think it's really important for Everton to be in the Premier League. Personally, I know there's a lot of tongue in cheek in terms of their relegation battles and whatnot. But in terms of the city itself, what are your thoughts about Everton's proposed takeover? Is it good for the city? Is it good for them? Would you be happy as a non-Everton supporter?
This makes their current board look more tenable than what these people who are going to come in who are linked with them. These are linked, they're associated with Seville, Genoa, Vasco da Gama, Melbourne Victory, Standard Liège, Red Star Hertha. Red Standard Liège have come out and are not happy with the board. They seem more like a leverage group. They only tend to buy clubs when they're in trouble, and tend to take it and as far as they possibly can. I think this will be the worst thing that could happen to Everton Football Club. If you want to know more about how it will affect Everton, I'd advise anyone to read the Esk, who's an Everton fan, who financials of the actual club. He makes great sense, and I will give you a better indication more than what I can because I don't come from a financial background. But all I can make out is from what I've seen and read from himself. I think it'll be the worst thing that could happen. And people will say there's no assets at Everton. There will be, and that's the stadium. And it could end up that they end up going down the road that Coventry have, in which they actually sell that asset, and then the club leaks it back. I think this is the worst thing that can happen. I hope for Everton fans, because I've got quite a few who are. I hope, and I don't see them getting through the fit and proper test and the financial test. That's the last barrier. But if they get through that, God help Everton.
There's some question marks about certain individuals, aren't there? And they're, we'll be careful about what we say, but there's rumours out there around certain individuals that may stop the fit and proper test from going ahead. So it'd be interesting to see how that goes ahead. But Mick, what about your thoughts? And David, it'd be interesting to see what you think about the Everton situation from a non-UK perspective as well. But Mick, I'll come to you first, mate.
I mean, I like it. It's all funny laughing at Everton where they are now, but I really don't want Everton to get relegated. I think we'd miss that derby so much, and it is a shame what's happened to them. But they've the transfers and the man Sean Dyche is not a good manager in my opinion, and they've just I don't know what they're doing at that club. And I actually looked at this about this group and I'm with Kevin. With what I read of it, they seem more like I don't think they're like a proper. I don't know what they are. They seem a bit all over the place. Like they make the Kev. They can only come in and invest in teams when they're really struggling or something like that. So it'd probably be such a bad move if that was to come off. But yeah, I'm with the. I don't want Everton to get relegated. I think we can all laugh and say, oh look where they are in the league and they're doing crap. But no, I think we'd miss that. I look forward to them derbies every season. I think without them, it's just a shame if we wouldn't see them every season now. And many times we get to play them, we'll be in a cup match or something like that. So no, I'm all up for Everton staying up, but they can stay there in a nice 17th or 16th, wherever they want to. But that's my opinion on it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the Premier League is a better place with Everton there. It just makes the sport a little bit better. Only just a bit. But Dave, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts about Everton and their situation from a non-UK perspective?
So, I mean, I've been a supporter of Liverpool since 1987. So, I feel like I'm a part of that city, even though I don't reside there. I've been 10 or 15 times, obviously, and I love the city a lot. But I've always loved Liverpool in the Premier League, partially because Everton have been in the Premier League. I like that rivalry. I like reading Twitter or X before game day and seeing all the rivalry, but knowing at the end of the day that there's mutual respect. Everybody in the city loves each other and supports each other. I think that's just an amazing thing. I like everything about Everton except Jordan Pickford. So from my point of view, I really want them to stay up, and I would be more than happy to be a mid to low level club. 10, 11, 12, 14. I'm happy with that. I'd like to see them competing. It'd be great. But I think the first thing they need to do is they need to get a real good sporting director to just go from the top and say, okay, guys, this is all going wrong. These are the business decisions we have to make to get it back on track. And they start going section by section of the club and just picking it up and saying, how can we do this better? How can we do this better? How can we do this better? And that's the only way they're going to dig themselves out of this hole. There's always this talk about takeovers. Supporters get excited by it, but it's that thing. The grass is always greener on the other side. It's not always the case, So, like when Liverpool are always talking about getting taken over, I'm very skeptical. It worries me. It worries me a takeover because you never know what's coming in. At least we know what we've got now, but you never know what's coming in. So, yeah, Everton. I'd like to see them do well. I hope they dig themselves out of this.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, so we're going to move on to the last question. I just want one word from each of you. You're going to be really surprised as to what question it is, but one word from each of you. Kev, I'll go with you. So the question is, guys, what are your thoughts on VAR and the people who are picked for this job?
Abysmal.
Mick?
Dreadful.
Dave?
Can we swear or no?
Oh, well, it's not past your watershed moment in Australia. So, but no, if you want to go for it.
For the record, I don't live in Australia these days. I'm actually in Malta. So there you go.
You're closer than I thought then.
Yeah. My word would be corrupt.
Okay. Me, donkeys. That's what they are. You can't. They're just absolutely useless, aren't they? So we've come to the end. It's been a bit of an epic 1 hour 16 minutes. I really want to thank you all for being and joining us today. Kev, as always, an absolute pleasure. The Oracle, voice of reason. Dave, absolute pleasure speaking with you today. Really, really good points. And Mick, absolutely fabulous to meet you today. I'm really looking forward to kind of catching up with you off chat and then also with the next stream. I'm back on next Tuesday. And so I think that's kind of bringing us to the end of today's stream. Before I do, just want to say thank you to everyone that's joining us today. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment. Think about that video that's going to be coming out. Think about the Salah replacements. If there's anyone else that you think I've missed, we could do part 2. It looks like it can be part 10 series, throughout the whole season. So we'll see how we get on. But I just want to say thank you. Enjoy your Saturday nights. Big up the Reds. 3 points. Title race is on.
Let's get a Kev hoodie shipped to Malta.
Yeah, there we go.
Please.
And we'll do that. Yeah. And we'll do that. Thanks, Dave.
No
right
worries.
then. Thank you all.
Guys.
Have a nice evening. Bye-bye.
Take care.